We're out here. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Deborah joining us. Joseph with his fucking 3500 Duramax. That is a man's truck right there.
The only problem with that truck is it's a Chevy. Just saying.
That's what it is. Nah, better than a fucking Ford, baby. We out here. So,
ouch.
Ooh, yeah, we're
That's
out here.
All right.
So,
no, I don't participate in the truck wars. I think they're ridiculous.
I drive a Tundra. It's obviously smaller than either of you guys' fucking trucks, but I love
big rigs.
The Tundra. I'm a huge fan.
I like that thing, man.
I really like it.
Yeah.
It's been a great truck. I've had it for like 2.5 years now. It's been fantastic. Yeah,
no definite upgrade from where you were before.
Oh fuck yeah! The Land Rover was nice, but it was a bitch. We've talked about it a million times on this show. So yeah, thank you very much for joining us. Deborah, obviously, for joining us again. Joseph, for being here for most of the time. Zeke was here earlier. Ivan was here earlier. Everybody was just waiting for Bilbo Swaggins. Hopefully he's out there having some fun in nature.
That's right.
Because he lives around Zeke, does, right? He's like,
I think so,
Indiana.
Yeah.
So excellent. We're out here. Excuse me. We're coming back. We got some beers going on. I want to thank you for the 4th time. Can you get an Allison in a Ford yet?
No. An Allison transmission.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. That's the big selling point, I think, for Dodges is the Allison trannies.
Zeke's here. We're out here. Still here.
That's right.
So the concurrent numbers switch back and forth. We can never tell how many people are actually watching at any given time because YouTube fucking hates us.
Exactly.
Yeah, so again, I want to thank everyone. I think it's the 4th time. YouTube. We also have our Instagram at Salt of the Streets. We have our Facebook, our Patreon, everything at Salt of the Streets. You can go there, sign up, help us make more, better content just like this. We have the review previews. We have the book club. We have the articles that come out, the newsletters on the last day of every month. Go there. $5 gets you every single newsletter we have ever written.
That's right.
Past that, I want to make sure that we didn't talk about any sponsors in the first one. Swell Blend. I'm going to go get my haircut next week. I'm going to get the bottoms chopped off here. I think now that I scheduled the appointment, I'm really questioning it. I'm like
put it this way.
hesitant.
If you continue to grow the hair out, getting it trimmed up every now and again is a good thing because supposedly it helps things continue. Right. I don't know.
So yeah,
that's what I hear. That's what the world tells me.
So we'll trim it and we'll go from there. Past that, JP Bakery, Jordan is getting her shit figured out,
fired, man,
legitimized, because apparently you need confirmation from the state for allowing you to do things that you want.
Yeah.
So we're out here reporting our beers, calling us a classic Tropic Haze going on.
That's right.
Let's see.
Got the Silver City Party Pack today.
Alive and amplified.
This is. I'm real glad I didn't pour this one on camera. This is not good. I had a real good pour, everybody, on the beer show Friday. I was very impressed with myself.
This was not bad. This one's real orange. The can is really orange, but
yeah,
also
it is.
The beer itself is really
wicked
orange.
Fucking orange. Oh my god, yeah. I am pouring this thing all over here.
So
I'll put
there
it
on
your camera
it's
there.
Real orange. I don't know if you guys. That's nice Salt of the Streets glass. Obviously, this is what the vinyls talked about that we talked about earlier. The vinyl stickers look just like this, but they're white, obviously. So
yeah,
got those things going on. Did Venmo that guy?
Look at my giant head on this thing.
That is that's a beast right there.
Stupid.
I never had the Alive and Amplified.
No. Oh yeah, it's pretty there.
It's real citrusy.
Yeah, it's a nice citrus IPA.
We're out here. The EcoBoost is a nice. We're out here, fucking truck town.
Truck town, bro. I'm just saying, if there's one thing that this podcast attracts, it's truck driving folks. Has to be.
Nice.
Liberty-minded people love trucks.
Oh fuck yeah!
Because all it does is it raises your own level of personal independence.
Cheers, Joseph. You said you were cracking one.
That's right.
Here.
Washed this truck earlier.
It's only 1:40 here, and we're fucking out here. It's beer time.
That's right. It's podcast day. We start drinking early. I'm just glad we got away from starting drinking at noon. That used to be the thing. We switched over from beers at noon till bangs at noon.
Yeah, I still drank a little bit. I had a little. I started off.
You started off. That's right. You did.
A little BSB.
Oh yeah, we didn't do the shot. My bad.
All right.
I'm just so used from my time not drinking.
No, that's all right.
You know.
So let's go. Part 2, we're talking about school's back in session, kind of, is what we labeled it, right? So the way that we're going about this, not the way we're going about this, we're going to start with the Minneapolis Teachers Unions. So this is something that we were going to talk about last week when I was when I had my migraine, and so we'll move on here now. And I have, let's say, I have a Fox News article. Colin has something there.
Oh, this was about vac stuff.
Oh, yeah, this one, no, that's okay. This is about the Minneapolis School District. I'll send you this one here. This is just this Fox News article. Oh, let's do the fucking New York Post one instead. New York Post is better. I like Fox News. Like, they don't lie about shit, but they just vamp shit up with so much fucking political background stuff, you know, of like, and they said this, and they fucking, it's just very...
It's very incendiary.
I don't like it, yeah.
So, I like my news the way I like my No, I don't have a good analogy on that
The
one.
facts is not bad.
Straight
but
and forward.
Teachers union give me migraines. You know what? And that will be part of this discussion because it started to really have issues with. We can even start there, right? That all this one is part of a collective bargaining agreement, and we've seen a bunch of different teachers strikes around the country, right? So
Oh yeah, there's King County school districts going on strike.
We talked about unions before. I'm not opposed to unions. The political power of them makes me uncomfortable. Inherently, I'm not against unions. I am in favor of individuals deciding to collectively come together to bargain for whatever is in their rational self-interest. I'm here for that. I agree with that. The issue that I have with the teachers union, and I know Colin has been against public sector unions for a long time, not to put any words in your mouth, but the issue I have with this, I can't help but escape a feeling that teacher or children are the ones that are inherently losing here because they can't go to school. The children are not going to school.
Yep.
And that makes me uncomfortable.
Word.
That makes me very uncomfortable I agree with your right to try and get what you want if enough of you are in favor of this, but you're also denying children the right to an education that supposedly you care so much about. Also, I'm fucking paying for you to do that, and you're still going to get paid for this time, I assume, right? You get paid the same regardless of whether or not you're teaching my kid. My kid's going to lose out on however much school time you're going to choose not to do. You're still going to get paid regardless. You're going to get pay increase if that's what you collectively bargain for.
Yep.
And my kid is going to lose out on time. And we're going to talk later about the learning loss that's going on, but now we're coming off of COVID, and now you're striking, denying the children more school time for the ability to be racist
When it's about children. One thing before we dive into the depths of this insanity, I just want to know where the fuck were all of these teachers unions trying to collectively bargain while they were not going to school for the last 2 years.
Right.
The time to do it was then. Every time we get into this collective bargaining bullshit, it's right as school is supposed to be beginning again. And this is when everybody goes on strike. You work 180 days out of the year. Why are you not striking and doing all this bullshit during your time off when it's supposed to be about the children? When it's supposed to be about you school's over, you'll walk away, it's all just rainbows and sunshines until it's ready to go back to school, and then all of a sudden I want more money, I need this, I need that, it's time to strike. We can't go to school right now. Where were you at 6 months ago? When you knew you were going back to school again, why were you not doing this then?
Political positioning.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah,
100%.
Now you have more. They have more leverage, right? They have more leverage because they have the ability to choose when school starts again.
Yep.
But again, that leans back to that point that we were just talking about. Of the children are the ones that inherently suffer here, and the same deal as COVID. Any parents who can't just leave work, right? They now have to not go to work so they can watch their kids when they're supposed to be in school.
The only plus side I can think of at this point from getting into teacher strikes is like the parents that have had to been dealing with this over the last couple of years they've got some kind of generalized path they can pursue. Like this isn't new to them. They know they've been getting fucked by the schools for a couple of years now. So at least they have a little bit of experience when it comes to this. So it's a bittersweet pill, but at least you've been getting fucked for 2 years. So you should have a little bit of experience at this point. So let's dive into this.
Yeah, this article in particular is about the Minneapolis school unions, and my ground news indicator says that only the right has covered this. This particular article has 11 sources, 100% on the right. So the left is completely refusing to acknowledge the fact that this story even exists. So we'll just start at the top here. Minneapolis Public Schools is defending its deal with the teachers union to lay off white educators ahead of their less senior minority colleagues, arguing that it is a necessary measure to remedy the effects of past discrimination. The school district released a statement to the Washington Times on Tuesday, which I also have, offering a full-throated defense of the groundbreaking deal with the Minneapolis Federation of Teachers, led by President Greta Callahan. And this is a quote: "To remedy the continuing effects of past discrimination, Minneapolis Public Schools and the Minneapolis Federation of Teachers mutually agreed to I'm just going to keep going. Mutually agreed to contract language that aims to support the recruitment and retention of teachers from underrepresented groups as compared to the labor market and to the communities served by the school district," the district said in an email. It was previously reported that the terms of the labor contract, and look, there's a kid in the picture, teachers deserve more. When will you learn? It was previously reported that terms of the labor contract were... Didn't Josh Keaton say last time he was here, he was like, teachers even make more than you think?
Word.
He got a job as a teacher this week.
Yeah.
Like
in a
literally
school
this
district,
week,
yeah.
he got one.
I saw his post. He's at first day of school ever.
And I was like, that's awesome. I'm
Yeah.
a huge fan of a public school teacher like Josh Keaton. I hope it was a great episode. If you guys haven't watched it, I absolutely recommend it. It was fantastic conversations. I know Deborah was there.
Yes.
Yes. It absolutely is racist, Deborah, and that is... Deborah, it is.
We will get into that.
Yes. It was previously reported that the terms of the labor contract were to protect underrepresented populations and keep the district's predominantly white staff from becoming more homogenous. Under the agreement between the Minneapolis School District and the Teachers Union, minority instructors may be exempted from the district-wide layoff outside seniority order. According to Minnesota outlet Alpha News, the language of the contract reportedly states, starting with the spring 2023 budget tie-out cycle, if accessing, reducing a teacher who is a member of a population underrepresented among licensed teachers in the site, the district shall access the next least senior teacher who is not a member of an unrepresented population. The agreement, which was reached in the spring of 2022 in the wake of the 2-week teacher strike, has been labeled illegal and unconstitutional by some critics. James Dickey, senior trial counsel at the Upper Midwest Law Center, told Alpha News the contract openly discriminates against white teachers based only on the color of their skin and not on their seniority or merit. The Minnesota Star Tribune reported that 16% of the district's tenured teachers and 20% of its probationary teachers were people of color. Many GOP politicians and conservative activists strongly condemn the new teacher's contract as racist. Well, so we'll stop there because that's the crux of what's going on here.
Yeah.
So,
I like the picture. They're on strike. On strike for safe, stable schools. On strike for living wages. On strike for mental health supporters.
That's awesome. So it absolutely is racist.
100%.
It 100% is racist. There is no question about that at all.
But remember, as we have learned from the teachings of anti-racism, the only way to be anti-racist is to be actively racist. That's how that works. You have to be racist and strive to right all the historic wrongs that were done.
Right.
It's the only way to be actively anti-racist.
Yes. And I wrote here, racial discrimination seems to be actually growing or coming back, which is wild.
Yes.
It's wild, especially from the group that's claiming that it's only been terrible the whole time. You're bringing it back. You're making it worse. You're actively making it worse. So
the same people that advocated for all the racism in American history, throughout American history, are now continuing to build off their racist background with more racism.
Yes.
It's very interesting.
Yes. And even operating from the premise that there is past inequality or injustice to make up for, which among the races there is a case for, right? But I don't know about among teachers in particular. Like, I've not heard among a rash of like racist teachers against other and again, I've not looked into it, so I could be wrong. I acknowledge that firing people today who aren't racist isn't going to correct anything that has to do with past inequalities. All it does is remove experienced teachers based on their race and not on their merit or their seniority or anything else.
Yep.
It seems to be, like Deborah said, their years of experience and potentially their merit is probably a better way, and not even just years of experience, because we all had fucking terrible teachers that have been there for 50 years, right?
Yeah.
It shouldn't just be your years of experience. It should be your merit. It should be the quality of, I don't know about what children say about you, but just if you're a fucking good teacher or not, you know? There has to be a way to evaluate teachers to find out objectively, quote unquote, as good as you can, if you're the principal or the superintendent, to find out if they're a fucking good teacher or not. Do your children generally like you?
Yeah.
Are they getting the information that they need to move on to the next grade level at a good level?
Well, that's why we have standardized testing,
right? That's right. Just need more of that.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's very weird. And you can't even say weird because it's so par for the course for this group, you know? And we talked about the teachers' unions and all the learning loss and stuff like that. This is the power of the unions the teachers' unions is specifically, but also other unions as well, has grown to the point that they coerced the federal government and the people of the United States into not sending their children to school.
Yeah.
They coerced us harder than the federal government did itself. They were like, we're just not going to do it. We're not going to do it, and we're going to strike if you try and fucking send your kids back to school because you're killing us. Your children are killing us, even though there's no evidence for that. You're killing us.
Some would say that's rather fascist of them, I would imagine, right? It's like
borderline at the least.
fascism.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not good.
Now, I miss the days when when the conversation about getting the hard part about retaining what teachers and trying to get new teachers in and vice versa. The problem was always the low people on the totem pole get out first because all the other ones get tenure and they're protected by the unions, and you got to go to the rubber room instead of getting fired and all this stuff. I miss when that was the conversation. Now it's all deemed around race, which is like you said before, it's a weird place to find ourselves in, where it appears that racism is, I mean, as the left would say, racism's on the rise. Unfortunately, they can't look in a mirror and identify that it's them that it's stemming from. But it is very, very strange to see that, giant, powerful institutions now are blatantly putting out actively racist policies within government-funded institutions like schools.
Yes.
Like, this is insanity.
Yes.
How is this? And we're going to talk later
Government
about like the white-only clubs and stuff like that at the school. But this is, it all seems to start at the schools, which I think in your conversation with Josh Keaton too. I mean, I don't think you have to go that far to realize where the true origin came from and why it was schools where it started. But the fact that it's worked out of the universities and higher education down into the base level educational institutions is disgusting. Disgusting and terrifying. What does this do for the future? What does it do for the future? It just sets up future generations that are going to go through the educational system in that institution just to be more and more racist on top of this. This is not a good place to be going, man. This is a very, very bad time, especially to be going down this path. It's also inherently, the people that you're talking about that will be affected are inherently the least well off and the least educated, with the least options, right? Because anybody who can, Joseph's talking about, he said, I'm homeschooling. Anybody who can is fucking taking their kids out of public school because it's a shit show, right? Anybody who has their eyes opened enough to what is going on, they're taking their fucking kids out of public school. The only people who are leaving their kids there either are down for what's going on, don't realize what's going on, or can't, right? Mm-hmm. That's the most troubling part, is you're taking the people in those three categories who are going to be the easiest to indoctrinate into your ideology, and those are the ones that are going to be pushed through these schools all the way to the end, because now they're being shown, even if you take out all these loans for college, we're going to fucking pay it off in the end anyway. Yep. So once you're done with our indoctrination of public school, going to get yourself into university, keep that cracking. We'll take care of that in a couple years anyway. Yep. Just don't worry about it. Yeah. And that, it bothers me because I remember back in my heyday, like you go get yourself some weird off-the-wall liberal arts degree and, the colloquial underwater basket weaving, which it turns out the argument was you go there, you take all this college debt out, you're going to get a degree that's not going to get you paid, right? Right. Well, unfortunately, that narrative is proven false, because it wasn't underwater basket weaving. It was like humanities studies. It was the gender studies and equality studies and racial studies and all these things that go along with the generalized colloquial CRT programming that stems from, Marxist ideology. And what they did was there was no market for them out there, so they created one. And now they are some of the most highest paid people in the world, which then incentivize more people to get into those degree programs, to go out and take those, public relations jobs and HR jobs and things like that, or equity. Equity. It's the DIE acronym. It's diversity, equity, and inclusion. Those career paths now exist because of those original degree programs that were created, and now there's a financial incentive to do that. And so not only now is it ideological, but it's also financial, which leads you now to teachers' unions supporting that same ideology and striking for those same ideological principles. That's how we end up like we are in Minnesota now.
Yeah.
I didn't think I could tie that one together, but I did. Right,
right
at the end.
Nope, I'm here for it. I don't have anything to say. It's concise.
Now, Garrett, you mentioned your homeschooling. Are you looking to homeschool in the future? Joseph
Garrett.
Garrett.
Joseph Garrett.
It's it's really funny.
Military.
Yeah, it is. Because I had a buddy whose name was Joe Garrett in the Coast Guard.
Oh, okay.
We just always called him Garrett.
Word.
But you're talking about homeschooling. You are homeschooling, or is it that you plan to? You're currently doing it.
Have you been doing it?
Yeah. What does it actually look like to you,
Yeah.
or is this something that you're planning on doing in the future? I'm really curious, because the stories of people that are doing this today, that are seeing the writing on the wall, that seeing everything that's going on, and then taking action and doing it, they are proof positive cases that it's possible. And the message of those people needs to be spread every day, because more and more people just insist that a lot of people don't think of it as an option, because they just are so used to their own paradigm right now, where I can't do that. I can't do that. I'm too busy. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. How is it that you're making it work? And we need more people to tell those stories and broadcast those stories to inspire other people and let them know that there is a path to go down, that you do not have to participate in this corrupt, insane system. There is a way to do it.
Well, you have to. Part of it is you have to be in the right position, right? Because Deborah makes a very good point. They can't, because they're working crazy jobs to pay for groceries, rent, mortgage, utilities. If you're making ends, if you're just trying to make ends meet, even if you're single or you're in a couple or whatever, right? If you're just trying to get those things done, you can't afford, if both of you have to work, or if you're a single parent and you have to work, you don't have the option to homeschool your kid. You can't. You have to work the whole time. So it's complicated, man.
It is. I can only imagine. My wife already sent a letter of intent before school started this year. Boom! So this is happening.
I like it.
This is happening. I'm real jazzed about this. Joseph. There we go. See? Nailed it.
Joseph.
It's amazing. You spend 10 years in the military. Which habits are hard to kick?
Yeah. Yeah, so we'll see what happens with the Minneapolis school district. It's not good. Like I said, it seems like there's going to be some legal challenges here, because it seems like it's blatantly unconstitutional.
Period.
It seems like it obviously violates people's civil rights.
Yeah.
Real fucking weird. So,
yeah. And as we've seen, policies like this have been allowed to be implemented and run a certain period of time before the legal challenges have been financially liquid enough to attack them or something like that. There's no public defense fund for blatantly unconstitutional things like this.
I don't mind being called Garrett. There you go.
Boom. Garrett's a solid name, bro. That's all I'm saying.
So fuck you.
I just had I don't know if I told you the random story before we get into the next school one. Like I got a text message from my buddy Garrett the other day, like a couple weeks ago, and he was texting me about something that obviously was not intended for me, but it was for a different Colin that he knows at work, and that just led me to be like, give him a call, and it was like, wait a minute, who? Oh, Offie? Is this? Oh my God! I was like, yeah, bro. I just want to let you know you sent it to the wrong Colin. You should probably get a hold of this guy, because it's
obviously
work
serious.
related now. It's all. He's a big time officer now, which is awesome.
Oh,
he's real good shit.
Oh, he's still in. Okay.
Oh yeah, but yeah, that was just great, man. It was so funny how that worked out, and just was able to reconnect like that. I'm working on trying to get a little fucking Coast Guard reunion, fucking Zoomy type chat.
There you go.
Pretty soon with a bunch of the old guys. But yeah, I miss those days a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, so move on to our next story here. We have DC vax mandate now delayed, right? And this is because, let's see. This I have from WTOP News, and there's even a little banner at the top that says this article is about 2 months old, because this is from July, and this is when the DC School District announced that students ages 12 and older will be required to get the COVID-19 vaccine to attend DC schools in the fall. And then, I mean, this Fox News article says hours later, but it doesn't detail exactly the timeline later, so I don't know how much longer after. They retracted that policy because of the public backlash that came from it. Because, let's see, it says, Democrat Mayor Muriel Bowser's administration previously had a no shots, no school policy in place for upcoming 2022-2023 school year at all schools within the district, meaning the students who are above the age of 12 would need to get the COVID-19 vaccine. Today, the district shared with local school teachers updated guidance regarding the enforcement timeline of the immunization attendance policy for routine pediatric immunizations on the COVID-19 vaccine during the 2022-23 school year. The office announced to reduce the number of students who could be excluded from school at any one time and to align schools and LEAs to one unified notification and exclusion timeline. The district is implementing staggered enforcement based on grade band. So it's not even that they're just waiting, they're just going to do it depending on the grade.
Yeah.
And I looked into how many children have been vaccinated, and this thing I have here is from the American Academy of Pediatrics, and the numbers as of August 24th, so a week ago, had it that 7% of kids 6 months to 4 years have been vaccinated, and 37% of 5 to 11-year-olds have had one shot, and 30% have had two. And then kids 12 to 17, 70% have had one shot, and 60% have had two shots.
Interesting. So even
the only way that it kind of makes sense is to do it in high schools. That's the only way that it even a little bit makes sense based on the numbers that are active.
Yeah,
because you wouldn't be coercing people into getting their kids vaccinated. It's been available for months now. If people who had children from the ages of 6 months to 4 years old wanted to get them vaccinated, they would be fucking doing it.
Yeah.
If people who had kids the ages of 5 to 11 wanted to get them vaccinated, they would be fucking doing it. Because it's been over a year that shit's been available.
Yeah.
If they wanted to do it, they would be fucking doing it.
But they're not.
This is coercion.
Yes.
This is coercion into a vaccine that we don't have enough evidence on, right? Fucking take all this shit down, do whatever you want. YouTube, Spotify, put little fucking flags over it if you want, right? We just learned from Alex Berenson that, to which I verified in multiple different articles, the original testing group, the control group for the original vaccines, has been fucking destroyed.
Yes.
They told those people who hadn't been vaccinated, and then people went and got fucking vaccinated.
Yep.
We don't even know what the long-term effects are going to be. We don't have any fucking control group to find out what the long-term effects are going to be. But definitely shove it in your kid so you can go to fucking public school, so maybe they'll get raped there. And then not get a good education. And then maybe they'll get to go to school if we're getting enough money and we think that our surroundings are fucking good enough for us. Fuck you. Absolutely fuck you. With my tax dollars and the federal dollars, which are also my fucking tax dollars, right? Fuck you. Get the fuck out of here. It's insane. It is coercion on the highest level. That's the only word for it. It's coercion on a union that has so much political control. They just shut the fucking schools down for 2 years.
Yeah.
When they never needed to be, right? With no evidence, no proof that children were the ones that were spreading it, nothing at all, right? In fact, as time went on, proof to the counter, still fucking kept schools closed. Still deprived your children of an education. To now, we're showing that they're a year, 2 years fucking behind. Oh, wait! The same equivalent of the time they spent at home not getting fucking educated by you.
Imagine that.
Isn't that weird?
Isn't that fucking funny?
But you need more money, right? Of course you do, because you did such a good job. Oh, we had no choice in these circumstances. You chose not to be in school. You chose to keep people out of school. You chose to make the children stay home. I don't want to hear about the conditions that you were under. The information you were being provided was to the counter. People were removed from the internet for saying the exact same things that are being said now. Yep. We're literally hearing on Start Here and all this shit. They're like, oh, it's like a flu now. You're probably just going to get a COVID booster every year. If you said that 18 months ago, you literally would have been removed from the internet.
Yep.
We had shit taken down because we said that same stuff. Because we said other people said that same stuff. Because we were tripping so hard at first, not even on the virus itself, but on the fact that we didn't know that we're calling out chiropractors that I'm going to see right now. We've eaten crow. We have segments of eating crow because we said, you don't know. Not even that you're wrong, but that you don't know. We didn't even say it ourselves. We said other people are saying this. We still had shit taken down.
That's right.
Now, if you work for ABC, you work for fucking Axios, you work for anybody you want, it doesn't matter. Just say the same shit that we pulled everybody off the internet for last year. Doesn't matter. It's fine now because we have deemed it to be so.
We've updated community guidelines, all right? You can say these things
so this one won't get taken off of YouTube. Thank God for that, right?
You could say now that masks don't do shit.
Yeah.
And they never did. Which was funny because that's also what Fauci said in the beginning, which is kind of laughable.
We even said that. We even honestly covered it. We even said the weird thing is that I swear to God, we were doing it at the live show in the wine bar. We're sitting there and we're like, it was a really weird thing where they even
because they just closed it down.
Like they admitted for a moment that we just don't want you to buy them because we need them in the hospitals. And then like the next day they're like, no, they just don't work. Just don't do it. What do you mean? What do you mean? What are you saying? That was memory holding. That shit that I remember, that was memory holding. That shit was memory holding. Forget about what I said yesterday. My name is fucking Jerome. What's his name? The guy who was the Surgeon General. What the fuck is his name? Yes.
Oh yeah, I don't remember his name.
He had a lisp. It was a whole deal. It was a whole deal.
It was a whole deal.
Fuck you, dude. It's insane. It's crazy, and I'm glad that you guys are here.
That was the greatest rant ever. Thank you. God, that's a clip.
Got me hot, man. I got 2 kids now. Joseph has kids. I'm pretty sure Deborah has kids. I know Zeke has kids.
Yeah, man.
It's insane to think that someone could use my child as an object against me.
Yeah,
is so fucking foreign to me. I will beat the shit out of you. Get out of my fucking face. You want to try and use my child as a weapon? Get out of here. That's my seed. You want to use him as a weapon? That's my seed.
That's my genes, bro.
Get out of here. Get out of here.
That is at least half of me, okay? For God's sake.
I'm beyond it, man.
That's right.
I'm so anxious, nervous about this stuff. I don't have a better word for it right now. That I'm scared about preschools because our area is so wild that I don't know what the fuck a preschool is going to say to him. And they're sponges at that age. You can say something around them, they repeat it, they retain and repeat it. I don't need Dax, who you know how quickly he picks things up and just says things. I don't need him coming home. It's saying any of that type of no. I don't need any of that type.
No, dude. I can imagine your face if that was to be the case and something came home. And Dax came home and said something. You're like, all right, I don't know what we need to do, but tomorrow you're not going to school anymore, little man, because we need to have a week. We need a week's worth of deprogramming now for the one day you spend at school now. This is great.
He's walking into this. To school and already know liberty, sovereignty. He knows these words already. These are active words in our household. You ask him, this is the most beautiful thing. Bureaucrat. Yes. If you ask him now, because Jordan is such an excellent mother, because my wife is so amazing. If you ask Dax, what are our 2 big rules? He says, don't hurt people and don't take their stuff. I swear to God. I swear to God.
I would have started crying.
We went to the Caves' house on Thursday. He was beating the shit out of little Kevin. He got in timeout like 4 times when we came home.
That's been a thing since he was
not good.
Since he couldn't walk.
And that was Kevin's first day of school, and they were both really tired, and he was getting after him. So I'm putting him in his pajamas, and Jordan walks by, and we're talking about, you have to be nice to Kevin, all this type of stuff. And Jordan says, you should ask him what the 2 big rules are. And I said, Dax, what are our 2 big rules? And he says, don't hurt people and don't take their stuff. So, and what were we doing at Kevin's house? So do you think it hurts Kevin when you hit him? Like, yeah. So we're breaking our big rule, aren't we? Kid's 3.5 years old.
Dude.
I don't expect another kid in preschool to be operating on that same premise. Even if he doesn't actively run with that all the time, that's the baseline, because if you ask him about it, that's his response. Don't hurt people, don't take their stuff. I'm not supposed to do that stuff. Those are the 2 big rules. He recognizes, I fucked up. I broke that rule because I know that's the rule. Yeah, I don't expect another preschooler to be operating on that same premise.
Yeah, that's so wild. This the first time I've really put this together like this, because don't hurt people and don't take their stuff. That was the name of the book you did in the book show. And I only, probably because I don't have kids, so I don't conceptualize those things as like something that you might teach a toddler. But when you say that as the 2 big rules, that's like, duh. Don't hurt people, don't take their stuff is about the first thing I think a kid should fucking learn. That is good on you as a parent, and that's fucking based Matt Kibbe right there. That is legit, man. I didn't even think about that because it's a book. It's a book built for adults, so I don't assume that those same lessons would be taught to a small child, but there it is right there. When you are growing up in kindergarten and in preschool, and of course, the 2 big rules, don't hurt people and don't take their stuff. share, and don't punch people in the fucking face, because that's what toddlers do.
And it's
that's huge.
It's the basest form of principles of liberty that he's going to be taught in different words throughout the rest of his life. Throughout the rest of the time that he's growing up, I'm going to continue to tell him, you can't take other people's property. People have property rights. You can't take people's take people's stuff. That's not okay. They own those items. You don't get to deprive somebody else of their property. People have bodily autonomy. You do not get to do harm to another person. You do not have the right to lay your hands on another person who has not done violence to you first. These are things he's going to be continued to taught throughout the rest of education.
It's like the base level, man. That's legit. I can't believe I'm just now making that connection too, because it's so perfect. The main two right there. Matt KB fucking throwing it right on the cover.
Yes.
Don't hurt people. Don't take their stuff. You could teach it to a toddler. You could teach it to an adult.
I finished that book when he was in the bath, and he asked, I said, I just finished this book. And he said, what is your book called? And I said, don't hurt people and don't take their stuff. And he repeated those words to me. Jordan heard it from the living room, and that's when she implemented that, because she knew that he could say it.
That's so perfect.
Yes.
Yeah, you guys got good stuff going on, bro.
She's very good.
You both are good. Jesus.
She's very good.
Oh, that is powerful stuff. So vax mandate. Don't do it. It's bad news.
And I have the NPR. I have the NPR article here that says long-term studies of COVID-19 vaccines hurt by placebo recipients getting immunized.
Oh,
it's washed.
Yeah, it's done.
It's washed.
They can't even do the science the right way. They fucked up the science, bro. The science is now.
They said it wasn't right.
No,
it just wasn't right.
That's what happened when you don't have a control group. You don't have an experiment anymore.
No.
Period. You learn that in whatever the first grade level you do a fucking science project. You learn about control groups. You need a normal thing that's just going to sit here, and the thing that's going to do something different.
Yeah.
You need a control group to have any legitimacy in any form of science experiment. Period.
Yeah. And we'll talk about
this is the scientific establishment. This is the best, the experts, if you will, flawed from the ground up.
Right. Excuse me. And we'll talk about later in the grab bag. Or now they have the Omicron boosters that are coming out that haven't even been tested on human beings. They've been tested on mice. And like, oh well, the base of it is pretty good. So we're just gonna go forward with it, because what's the worst that could happen?
Exactly.
You know?
I wonder how long the mice's telomeres are.
Such a good way to be deciding on what you should inject into another fucking human being
on a mass scale as well. By the way,
it's just another human being. It's just another human being who has the exact same rights and liberties to freedom as you do. It's just literally the exact same thing that you are. To do this type of shit, you have to think of people on some type of incremental scale. You can't look at people and regular people and think that they're the same as you, because you're like, it'll be fine.
What's the first level?
Don't worry about it.
To being able to do something as terrible as genocide, dehumanization. You quit looking at people as if they're humans.
Well, they're just mice,
and they're just mice
like
now.
Mice.
They might as well be the same thing. So fuck them. Let's inject them all.
That's all.
And this is happening not to a specific group of people. This is happening to everyone. If that ain't dark, I don't know what is. These people do not have your best interests at heart. Every institution hates you and wants you to die, and this is a perfect example of that. Period. Learning loss.
Yes.
So imagine if you will, you pull a child out of school for 2 years, and then when they go back to school, which some are, some aren't, they have an anticipated loss of learning that is generally equal to the time that they were not in school.
It's so
and this
weird.
is so surprising for the establishment. I mean, we had Zoom school. Where people could just log in for a couple hours a day and get their lessons and get their homework, and then they should be fine, right? It's like nothing really changed. There's no difference between doing it at home and doing it and being forced to go to an establishment where you are put in front of an instructor to learn things. No. Oh, by the way, and because equity and internet and all this stuff, if you don't have that, if you don't have a camera or something like that, you could just log into the Zoom chat and with no verification that you are in attendance, and then you can we're just going to assume that you were there to absorb everything that's happening. Dehumanization. Yes, Deborah, it's a 100% dehumanization. 100% dehumanization. And who pays for it most of all? The kids. And at this point, we're delaying the fact that this is happening. We're only going to concentrate on a certain amount of people. A certain amount of those kids are still not going to be able to go back to school in certain areas, and which is just going, the poorest and most oppressed kids, if you will, by the system.
Yeah, the most
so the
at
system
risk,
is going to continue to oppress the people that were already previously oppressed. And this is going to contribute even further down the learning loss thing. If you don't go to school, school's flawed in some fashion. I mean, we tear it up all the time and all this stuff, but there's a certain base level that you're going to get whether you're sitting in a classroom just absorbing it in the background. You know, it's like background radiation. You're going to get it in some capacity just by simply being there doing the thing, right? You're going to be forced to do certain things, participate in class at some level. You're going to have some percentage of some of the knowledge is going to soak in, period, regardless. Just osmosis. By you being there. Yeah, the osmosis is going to take place.
Yeah.
Good movie, Osmosis Jones, by the way. I forget the point where I was going. But the learning loss is going to continue. It's going to continue the longer you keep kids out of school. There's no other. I mean, we have the data now, which the establishment is incredibly surprised to hear about, and anybody with two common sense that can rub them together is not surprised at all by this, because it just makes sense. If you don't go to school, you don't learn about this shit.
Right.
Because kids generally, there's this wonderful idea that kids love to learn, right? Kids love to learn. But there's a lot of caveats to whether or not kids love to learn, because they have to choose to engage in that learning or not. I think plenty of studies will bear that out. It's not that difficult. But when a child chooses to disengage wholly from school because you're giving them every opportunity to not engage in school, they are not going to learn things. You set those kids back 2 years, they go into the next grade now, and they're expected to operate off of base knowledge, which they do not have. There's going to be a greater level of disengagement at that point. So those kids are going to continue. They're not going to just get back into it, catch up, and then be able to carry forward. Some will, but the majority of them won't be able to do that, because if I didn't learn base algebra, I can't take algebra 2.
Right.
If my reading comprehension is at fucking Clifford the Big Red Dog, and now I'm expected to read The Giver, I'm not going to be able to comprehend that. I can't just jump back in. And without some form of change in the curriculum, or some alteration to the approach at how to adjust the entire curriculum to make up for that 2 years lost,
right,
everybody's going to be exponentially worse off in the end.
And to underline that in that article that you have, I have that one here too, the 6 things we learned about how the pandemic disrupted learning. Mm-hmm. In one of those numbers there, it talks about how the expectation was pretty clear to children that to just show up, like especially in high school and junior high, that the expectation was really just show up and it will be fine. So when you change from 2 years of just show up to now they're going to have to go back to school, and not only do we expect you to have the knowledge that you didn't learn over this time and you weren't expected to gain, now we expect you to be operating at just like you were before all this pandemic shit happened. That's unrealistic. Mm-hmm. You can't lower the expectation for children down to a 1 and then ramp it back up to a 7 or whatever, and expect... I would think there would be you're going to see kids be deterred by that if they don't feel like they can even learn it, and because I'm irritated that why would I do this? We didn't want this for me last year. Yeah,
So it was number 4. High school graduation rates didn't change much.
There you go.
One more study from Brookings looks at the impact all this epidemic-driven turmoil had on high school graduation and college entry levels. It turns out for 2019 to 2020 school year, when graduation ceremonies were canceled and students ended the year at home, high school graduation, Shelby. Yep. High school graduation rates actually increased slightly, which is interesting. Quote, "The message clearly was just show up," says Doug Harris, the study lead researcher and director of the National Center for Research on Education Access. That's a fucking department right there. The National Center of Research on Education Access and Choice at Tulane University. How the fuck does that department get funded?
Very highly specified. It's very important. You
Good
woun't understand because you're not in the department.
Yeah, that title, the title that I carry is so long that tells you exactly how important I am.
You wouldn't
my
understand.
title is like 12 words, bitch. Get over this.
You wouldn't even understand. No. So exactly. So if you're changing the expectation from children, because I wouldn't. Whatever, it's conjecture. I don't think it was just high school kids. I think that the carelessness, because teachers didn't want to even be in school, so they probably weren't working very hard, and it's not working. So why would they work as hard as they can if it's not working in the first place? And that's not to say that it's a good reason to do that, but that's how people who don't want to be there to begin with are going to operate, off of a baseline like that.
Yeah.
So I expect that junior high kids probably were taught the same thing, you know, or were under the same impression. If you just show up, you know, we're not going to hold you back because you're at home anyway, and it is what it is. There's not a lot that we can do about it. So again, if you change the expectation level from a 1 to a 7, a lot of kids are going to be deterred. They're going to be really irritated that that's the way that it's happening, and they don't have the knowledge that is expected of them that wasn't expected for them to get on the way there. This is not a good mix. And the article I just sent you is from PubMed, and this is from April of 2021, right? April of 2021.
Whoa.
Yeah. Isn't it fucking weird? From PubMed, April of 2021. Learning loss due to school closures during the COVID-19 pandemic. Isn't that weird? .ncbi.nlm.nih.
Oh.
Isn't it weird?
The Fauci doc's got his fingerprints on it.
How could we possibly know? There is. I'm not saying that there is an opportunity to catch up. My point only with junior high is that those kids, the expectation levels were dropped, and now they're going to be brought back up when they go back to in-person learning. That's my only point.
It's going to be that much harder for them to catch up, too.
Yes, I absolutely believe in the versatility of youth, and I believe in their ability to overcome adversity. It's not that. It's that I don't. It's unfair. It's unfair of them to put them in a position like that, especially for we're talking about the mental health status of children because of this time. They're already in compromised mental health position. Now we're going to make them question themselves even more because they don't have the knowledge that we're expecting, and we're going to make them work harder than we have expected them to over the last 2 years.
I will say the kids that'll rise above all this and come out, they're going to be fucking epic.
Ballers.
Those are the next. You should pay attention to those people. The people that are going to really thrive in the future after being essentially held back for the equivalent of like 2 years. They're going to be the next Jeff Bezos, man, the next Musks. I mean, these kids are going to be the fucking ones to watch out for.
Yeah.
Because they're going to rise above the adversity when not everybody will. And those are the kids that are going to go up and make some big fucking changes in and around. Anyways, go ahead. Yeah,
so this article, or this is a study from PubMed.gov. We're just going to read the abstract because I'm not going to get into the fucking study itself. That's above me. Suspension of face-to-face instruction in schools during COVID-19 pandemic has led to concerns about consequences for students' learning. So far, data to study this question has been limited. Here we evaluate the effect of school closures on primary school performance using exceptionally rich data from the Netherlands. We use the fact that the national examinations took place before and after lockdown and compare progress during this period to the same period in the 3 previous years. The Netherlands underwent only a relatively short lockdown, 8 weeks, and features an equitable system of school funding and the world's highest rate of broadband access. No shit. Still, our results reveal a learning loss of about 3 percentile points or 0.08 standard deviations. The effect is equivalent to 1/5 of a school year, the same period that schools remain closed. Losses are up to 60% larger among students from less educated homes, confirming worries about the uneven toll of the pandemic on children and families. Investigating mechanisms, we find that most of the effect reflects on the cumulative impact of knowledge learned rather than transitory influences on the day of testing. Results remain robust when balancing on the estimated propensity of treatment and using maximum entropy weights or with fixed effects specifications that compare students within the same school and family. The findings imply that students made little or no progress while learning from home and suggest losses even larger in countries with weaker infrastructure or longer school closures, like the United States.
Yeah.
Because we were ranking fucking 30th or some shit like that. It's
we're
not
already
good.
Real bad.
It's not good. And we were closed for a long goddamn time. Yeah. Some places were, right?
Yep. A lot of schools for legit 2 years.
It's not good, right? This study of the Netherlands in April of 2021. April of 2021, right? That's over a year ago. Was saying that the loss was equivalent to the time they were not in school. So However long your kid wasn't in school, that's how much shit they didn't learn. Not yours in particular, maybe you, whatever. In general, that's how much shit they didn't learn. This was here in April of last year. This isn't a surprise. And now these articles like the one from NBR come out, like, oh, it's so crazy. We had no idea this was happening. How could we have possibly known that this would happen?
Yep.
How could we have known?
Because you silenced every single voice that said this was going to be a problem. That said this was a problem. You said, no, that's just... You found some nonsensical rationality to say that you can't listen to those people because we're doing the best we can. We're doing this thing. We're just having class on Zoom. There's no difference anymore, man. I don't understand what your problem is.
It's for the teachers, man.
You know, it definitely was for the fucking teachers, by the way. None of this was done for the kids, obviously, because anybody could have said this was a bad idea right from the jump. Anybody could have seen that. There was zero data to this point. There is no data to support any of the decisions that were made along this lines.
Not even on a health basis.
None at all. I'm fairly sure that the childhood deaths,
less than 100, I'm pretty sure.
It was definitely less than 100. But
I mean, even right now.
Yes. But during this time, the data, if I could recall at this point, were like any childhood deaths that were recorded due to COVID that excluded kids with multiple comorbidities.
The severe ones, too.
Severe ones were in the single digits.
Yeah.
If not double. Which just, there was zero reason to be doing this, except for the teachers, and surprise, surprise, the teachers' unions were the ones that pushed it the hardest. What was her name? Susan Wojcicki?
Wojcinski or something like that. Yeah, I got
she was the head of the largest teachers union, whatever.
The American Federation of Teachers.
Yeah. She is single-handedly responsible for all of this.
Yes. 100%.
100%. All the blame lies with her. It's terrible. It is terrible. It's tragic. The future for these kids is going to be rough. We'll put it that way. I feel bad. I feel bad that there's going to be an entire generation of kids now that are going to have their learning stunted. And in America, good luck on catching up, man. It's going to be, parents are going to have to do a lot. The kids themselves are going to have to do a lot. It's going to have to be a lot of self-motivation out there to get these people all caught back up.
100%. Yeah. No, it's the... Like I said, I believe in the ability of youth to overcome adversity. Mm-hmm. So they can do it. It's going to take a lot of outside support from parents. I don't think the proper support exists within schools. You know, we talked when Josh Keaton was here about the way that I got fucked over by my guidance counselor. I think that type of stuff happens all the time. I don't think that's a unique story. You know, I don't take that as like, oh, woe was me type of deal.
Yeah. Fucking Aaron Rodgers, man, when he was in school, when he was in college,
right?
You know, he had that teacher just had it out for him and essentially tried to hamper his education while he was trying to play football because she just did not fucking like him for whatever reason. And that is not an isolated incident. It happens at every educational facility. It happened to me, happened to you, obviously, in a very extreme manner. But I mean, it happens to kids all the time. For whatever reason, certain adults at these learning institutions, quote unquote learning institutions, indoctrination centers might be the better phrase for them, but it happens to kids all the time. And there's nothing they can do about it because the fucking adults that are in charge choose to do this to these poor kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a very tragic situation.
So the last two that we have are no whites in the college club and then student debt. So let's talk about no whites in the college club. That's very quick, right? So this has to do with the college club in Berkeley. Again, New York Post. I have this article here, and
who would have thought from Berkeley?
I know, it's super weird. And so it took me a minute to find out. It doesn't appear that this particular group, actually has anything to do with the college, other than the fact that it's the idea was hosted by a group that's based in the college. But I looked up the group itself. They are called the Berkeley Student Cooperative. And they have existed since 1933. And you should pull up their website because it's pretty awesome. And so those are the people who made this, and they're the people who are running this housing development. And so what we're talking about is an off-campus housing. That's it. Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome. The best thing is that green square that says our co-ops. Let's scroll down to that thing underneath it and let me read that, because that was a thing that I was like, oh, I know exactly who I'm dealing with here. Berkeley sits on the territory of Yuxacan, the ancestral and unceded land of the Chochenyo speaking Ohlone people, the successors of the sovereign Verona band of the Alameda County. This land was and continues to be of great importance to the Muwekma Ohlone tribe and other familial descendants of the Verona band. The Muwekma Ohlone people are alive and flourishing members of the Berkeley and broader Bay Area communities today. As residents and settlers of the East Bay, it is our responsibility to recognize our relationship with this land as we benefit from its usage, occupation, and exploitation. The Muwekma Ohlone people have been here for thousands of years, and they are being removed by white colonizers and Western institutions and displaced by settlers like us. We commit to upending the roots of settler colonial patriarchy, white supremacy, and capitalism. We commit to solidarity with indigenous peoples' rights for decolonization, for sovereignty, for land and water justice.
Whoa, dude.
Awesome.
That's deep.
It's awesome. Yeah. So, that's
Berkeley Student Cooperative.
Those are the people that came up with this idea.
Right? How many of these like youths did it take to sit around this antique table to come up with this thing?
They got 17 houses and 3 apartment complexes.
Bro.
This is a burgeoning community.
I have to see. Access denied.
Yeah, bitch. You ain't allowed to be in here. You ain't part of the collective, son.
Sons of bitches.
You ain't part of the collective. Don't even act like you think you can be.
I thought we were all about inclusivity, man. What the fuck?
That's what this story is about.
I guess I have to become a member.
Yeah, this is the New York Post story. Off-campus UC Berkeley student housing bans white people from common areas. Okay,
I'm definitely not allowed.
No. An off-campus housing co-op for University of California, Berkeley students bans white people from entering common spaces to, quote, avoid white violence, sparking criticism that the policy inflames racial tensions. The 5-story, 30-room person of color themed house near the school requires students to declare their race when signing in and to announce when they're bringing white guests in the building, according to house rules leaked on Reddit.com. Many POC moved here, people of color, moved here to be able to avoid white violence and presence, so respect their decision of avoidance if you bring white guests. The rules declare white guests are not allowed in common spaces.
So you could live in the room, but you're not allowed to be in a common space, much less bring your white guests to a common space.
This is a person of color house, so you have to be a person of color to live here.
And no white friends.
Not in the common area. If you want to bring them into your room, that's fine, I think, but not in the common area. Guest limit, mask. Guest limit per house member is 5 guests. All guests must wear masks in common spaces. Guest chat. Always announce guests in the guest chat if they will be in common spaces with you and if they are white. Guests in common spaces. Guests are allowed in common spaces, but please be mindful if there are house members in the room beforehand. White guests are not allowed in common spaces. See intro. Guests with members. Do not leave guests alone in the common spaces to avoid house members assuming it's a stranger and alerting the house chat. Parents/family members. Avoid bringing parents/family members that express bigotry. Queer, black, and indigenous members should not have to avoid common spaces because of homophobic or racist parents/family members. Noise level. Be conscious of the amount of noise you and your guests are making in common spaces or in your room. Our house walls are very thin and we have quiet hours from 10 p.m. to 9 a.m. weekdays and from 1 a.m. to 10 a.m. on weekends.
I was curious how they were going to work some woke language into noise level. I'm glad that one at least is just kind of standard ops, you know.
Yeah. The building, which houses up to 56 students a few blocks from the university, also urges students to avoid bringing family members that express bigotry, according to the College Fix. Queer, black, and indigenous members, we just read that. The building was set up by the Berkeley Student Cooperative to bring affordable housing to low-income, first-generation immigrant and marginalized students of color in the Bay Area. But some of the rules spark outrage, obviously, with students saying they're too aggressive and defy the spirit of inclusion. On the Reddit, there was one person that said, I was not allowed to let my dad into the house because he was white. And that's on Reddit, so we don't know, obviously, whether or not that's real. Assuming that it is, that's pretty fucked up. So he was then there. Our other Reddit posts about people who were like mixed race that felt like they were made very uncomfortable there because they weren't you know, colored enough or whatever the fuck the deal is.
Sean King would not be allowed in that
No,
house.
no. Maybe because his name is Sean King, but not if they didn't know who he was. Another former member wrote a Medium article saying the house had earned a reputation for its aggressive call culture and lack of intersectionality. How is it lack of intersectionality? How's that possible in a POC house? It is in fact racist as fuck, Joseph. It is in fact racist as fuck.
That's rough, man.
Yes.
Like, I didn't know what to expect getting into this thing.
It's not good.
Wow.
It's not good. It's super racist. And so the campus is not involved with this, right? This is a separate thing, other than the fact that all the people who run this, I think, go to Berkeley.
Yeah.
But the house is privately owned and they rent it out from a landlord, and that's what this. To be clear, it's not a campus operated. The property is operated by a private landlord, and it is not the role of the campus to comment on what private landlords are allowed to do. So this is where I'm at with it, right? It is racist as fuck.
They're a 501c3 nonprofit.
No shit.
Yeah.
Oh, you can't do that. Oh, no.
Bro.
You can't do that.
Our mission is to provide a quality, low-cost, cooperative housing community to university students, thereby providing an educational opportunity for students who might not otherwise be able to afford a university education. The Berkeley Student Cooperative is a 501c3 nonprofit housing cooperative. So they are a 501c3 tax-exempt from the government who is being actively racially discriminatory.
Well, that blows my shit out of the water, because this thing I wrote this: private groups and individuals should be allowed to do what they want. This is definitely racist, and I'm not sure how many reasonable people want to be involved. But if you're accessing federal, like if you're getting a federal tax exemption, then you can't be racist.
No.
You're not allowed to be racist because you're getting a tax exemption. You can be a private group and do whatever you want. It's fucked up. It's totally fucked up. I don't think it's cool that you want to be racist. If you want to do that, that's fine, right?
Bro.
I acknowledge your right to do that. But if you're going to be getting federal tax exemptions, you're not allowed to be racist.
That's rule number one, right?
That's going to cause some problems.
Wow.
That is going to cause them some problems.
This is why everybody needs to go right now to the Patreon, subscribe, and that way we can get some dollars enough so that we could sue these motherfuckers out of existence, because that's not okay.
I didn't go past their homepage.
That's not okay.
I read those parts and I was like, oh, I know exactly who we're dealing with here. It's like, this makes sense. I had to go to the mission and see what their mission was.
I
went to the food thing.
Wow.
I clicked on the food thing. They they have like a co-op and stuff.
Oh, how the co-op? I like the co-op food system. You know, of course, it's
a food kitchen. You know,
just what? I hope this thing isn't too small. But I mean, of course, multicolored hair with
awesome. A tiger on her head.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
Otherkin, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, yeah, like I said, blows my shit out. You can't do that. Can't be racist if you want to fucking.
If you don't want to pay taxes, bro.
Can't do that.
There's one exception. You can't be racist, and this is 100%.
No.
Oh my gosh.
No, you can't. That's one of the rules, actually.
Joseph Garrett, I gotta go feed my pigs. Be back in a minute.
Hey,
go
we'll
feed
be here
pigs,
for you,
bro.
baby. Feed them piglets.
I love pigs.
You know, there's a hawk that lives in our neighborhood now, and it's a little hawklet. It's like a little. Hawklet? Yeah, it's not. It's pretty small.
I feel like the crows got to gather up and take that motherfucker down before it gets too big.
Somewhere nearby, because I've seen him like almost every day the last 2 weeks, and he was up on the power lines up in front of our house. Just
oh, bro, yeah, I got to be careful. Bringing the little pups out, because we got a bald eagle and an owl around here. I can hear them all the time.
Yeah.
I'm like, bro, good thing like I got a relatively compact and kind of covered backyard, because easy pickings, bro. Easy pickings. They come down, scoop up, not even think about it, gone.
Yeah, and this hawk is not big enough to take the little dogs. It could kill one of them if it wanted to, because it's a hawk, but it's not big enough to take one away.
Not yet.
No, but the bald eagles in the area,
100%
could be taken out. I mean, there are a hell of bald eagles in Keyport.
Oh, yeah.
A hell of bald eagles.
Yeah.
I see them all the time. Owls are no joke. Yeah, I don't really have that many owls out there. They got bats and shit out of Jake's house. Probably owls out there.
Yeah, I seen a big ass owl at Jake's house growing up at one point. Yeah, we get a couple every now and again. You see like a big ass barn owl or something like that. You're like, holy shit!
Owls are wild, bro. That's a wild looking animal.
Yeah. My quick aside before we start doing student debt
and shit.
One of the best like it wasn't experiment. It was in science class in like junior high. Coolest thing, we had to go through and like dissect, if you will, owl droppings.
Like an owl pellet?
Owl pellets, bro.
Yeah,
because they're kind of like dried. You cut them open, and you find like all sorts of crazy ass bones.
Like a whole skeleton,
word of like creatures you don't think they should be able to eat, and then you realize how fucking big they are because this turd is this fucking big.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, bigger than a chihuahua.
I kind of think that an owl pellet, I think they throw it up.
Oh, they probably do.
I think they throw up an owl
they don't
pellet.
shit that.
Yeah. We did the same thing. I was younger than you were, but it was probably around the same time period. Not to make you feel old again, but I think I was in elementary school when I did
35,
that.
baby.
Yeah, no, I was in elementary school, so it was probably the same. Great horned owl killed 4 of our chickens and 2. God damn.
Bro.
And I bet you can't fucking kill a great horned owl.
I'm pretty sure you can't, yeah. They are.
It's like the spotted owl or whatever. It's just a whole deal. The ground nesting owl or whatever. The disdain in your eyes.
I can't, dude. They take, especially around here. Like there's so many protected predators that scoop up so much game animal.
Some chipmunks I read when I was doing my hunter safety course, and like some of those weird little, not a marten, but something.
Yeah, it's like a marten.
But yeah, I think it starts with an L. It's something along that. I was like,
yeah,
what?
And that's, I don't know why they do that for hunting and safety, because that's a trapper only type of deal.
Right.
You relearn about those things when you do it.
They move so fast.
Exactly.
You shoot a marten.
Yeah.
At least you hit with a shotgun. You know, it's gonna be hard as fuck. They're so fast.
Yeah.
No, that's weasels and stuff like that.
Yeah, when I did my trapper certification, that's one of those things, because they are technically a fur bearer.
Right.
And but yeah, you can't.
Real hard to distinguish, from what I understand. Right. All those different little weasel animals.
They look like, they're just little fucking ferret-looking things.
Right.
Very hard to distinguish.
Slightly different sizes and colors.
Around here, you can't just do anything with them.
And you have to
live trap. Well, you have to live trap out here.
Oh, because if it's not the right one, you have to let it go.
There it is.
I was going to say, if you set a trap, how are you going to even decide? Like,
even for like beavers and shit, you got to fucking live trap them and then shoot them afterwards.
Really?
Yeah, it's all fucked up. Yeah, so you have to trap them and put them in this terrifying situation for an unknown number of hours. You have to check your traps every 24 hours or something like that. But then they just get to sit in there and fucking in fear. And then you have to go over there and fucking kill the thing.
That's wrong.
It is definitely wrong.
You're going to kill it anyway.
Amen. Just kill it at the time.
Just get a good trap, a lethal trap.
Yes.
That's wrong.
Welcome to the woke state of Washington.
That's wrong. We know so much about animals that we want to make sure that we compassionately kill them. So fucking terrify them first.
First year we cut back on they stopped the spring bear season, right, this year. And then I immediately started to see all these tons of stories about how black bears are working their way more and more into more suburban communities.
It's so weird.
Imagine that.
So weird.
But no, you can't go out and shoot them.
Don't be stupid. You don't know how it works, Colin.
No. I don't spend any time watching these animals and trying to understand them and caring about them.
Hunter.
Amen.
You don't know.
I might as well just be a FUD.
That's right. So this is our last segment here for part 2. Move on. It will be relatively quick, but it's a good conversation here. Student debt cancellation. Last week, Colin, you did a great job going over the inflation aspects of this, and so you're 100% correct. If this goes through, because there's still some legal challenges there. From what I heard, there were some people that are saying, you check it tomorrow and it'll be fucking paid off. I don't know. I don't know how any of that works, whether or not that's real, because there are still going to be
the website up.
There's going to be a lot of legal challenges that go along with this. The constitutionality of this is not set straight, right? And you touched on this, but a FUD, Deborah, is something that I have covered in one of my articles on the Salty newsletter. So that's something you can check up. But a FUD is also a gun culture term of like someone who identifies gun rights with hunting specifically. So like shotguns and bolt action rifles and stuff. They don't see the need for like AR-15s and things like that. So,
and when it comes to like the hunting culture, it's used very colloquially and to mean very different things. But
Elmer FUD.
It's essentially like the drunken gun-toting redneck goes out there and blows away whatever he can blow away. And oftentimes they're a bunch of dudes that roll around in trucks, drink beers, wearing their they're big fat dudes that couldn't carry a fucking animal back after they shoot it. And it's the people that aren't willing to go out there and do the work. The FUDs.
Yes. So
I paid mine off. I want my check. Amen, Deborah. Get your check.
You are not alone.
Actually, don't get your check, because nobody should get a check. You don't get a check either. You did the right thing. You paid your student loans off.
If this goes through, it's just going to be added to the deficit. Lenders still need to be repaid because it didn't come straight from the federal government. The dollars don't just go away. They don't disappear. The federal government is going to pay that off. There isn't some magical fund somewhere for college debt payoffs. This is going to go just straight onto the deficit. That's all.
But it's just
they're going to find a way for somewhere for it to go. But the money is going to just be be appropriated from somewhere else, and they have to add it to the budget. That's all that it's going to happen.
Yeah,
so,
that's the one part of the argument I can't stand at this point is because everybody is so removed from how the financial system actually works. Everybody just assumes it's all just ones and zeros on a computer. Why can't you just turn those ones into zeros and just done? It's all, nobody owes the debt anymore.
Right.
The lenders aren't on the hook for it. Nobody's just get rid of it. It's fine. You can't.
Yeah.
But that's not how any of this works. This will be printed 100% from the Fed, and yeah, you'll be taxed through inflation. At best, I should say.
At best.
That's the best case scenario.
Joe Biden used a 9/11 Patriot Act era statute that says that in times of national emergency, you can pay off people's debts, and the national emergency is COVID.
Yeah.
All the things that the regulations that were rolling back, the things that we're not doing anymore because of COVID, that's still justification enough to pay off people's student loan debts. So we're going to do that. That's literally the justification for this. That's how they're finding a way for it to be constitutional, for it to be legal. I don't think this is legal. I don't think it is constitutional. It's going to be tested for sure.
Yeah.
We'll see how that turns out. On top of that, right? This policy does literally nothing to solve the core issue that's at hand of student loan. Right, or student loan debt. The Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget found that the current debt levels are going to be back to the debt levels are going to be back to their current state in 5 years, because nothing has been done.
Yeah.
Right, 5 years, student loan debt is going to be back to exactly what it was before, and I don't think they're the only group that found this. So this doesn't do anything. All this does is wipe the slate clean for this particular group of people. And everybody, like you already covered, anybody who took a loan out from June or whatever afterwards is already fucked.
Yep.
They're not getting their loans paid off. So they're going to go to school. They're going to ride out this same debt because nothing has been done. They're still going to get fucked. Even if they go through bankruptcy, they're still stuck with this, right?
Yep.
And then
That's it.
In 10 years, someone else is going to pay it off.
Yeah.
So even Dems are saying he doesn't have the juice to do it, only Congress can. Yeah, it's not a good look.
No.
It's not a good look. And there's no doubt in my mind this is politics. This is done to gain more political influence, to try and gain more momentum going into the midterms. I commented on your episode the last time Joe Biden had this much political, had this type of approval rating was when they were handing out COVID checks. The last time he had approval rating was when he handed out money. What am I going to do? I'm going to hand out more money.
That's right.
That's how I'm going to get us to the midterms, right? Because all of these wins we heard about, 2 weeks ago, is Joe Biden's just winning back to back to back. This fucking inflation action, all this stuff. He literally did nothing.
Yeah,
he has done nothing to get us here.
Nope.
This is all congressional work. And it's shitty congressional work at that. There's nothing. You've done nothing here, right? Now, assault weapons ban, that passed the House and will die in the Senate. That is unconstitutional anyway, because the Supreme Court just ruled on this shit. You think that's really going to stand up to Supreme Court muster? Absolutely not.
Nope.
Absolutely not. It's nonsense. All of this is nonsense. So this is all just to gain more political influence going into the midterms. I also saw a lot of people comparing student loan forgiveness to PPP loans, right?
Yeah,
there was a sweep
stupid
of Twitter accounts that were taking conservatives or people that were attacking student loan forgiveness, and they're finding their status in the PPP loan program, screenshotting it and posting it. Is this you? Because they got X amount of money paid off. Okay. All right. So
world of difference.
Baseline, right? Baseline for all of this. If the government, let's start with the PPP loans first, and then I'll talk about the fucking governmental aspect of this, right? The PPP loans is a payment protection program, right? That is a program that was set up by the federal government. We covered all of this. If you go back to the time, we covered all of this when it happened. The payment protection program was so that businesses, small businesses in particular with less than 500 employees, could still maintain payroll after the federal government told them to shut the fuck down, right? When they didn't prepare them for an emergency where they still needed to retain all of their staff because they didn't want to continue and overstress the unemployment system, right? Because they already couldn't handle it. They made a program in which businesses could access those funds and they would be paid off. As they should if you were going to subject small businesses to this type of scenario, in which why would any small business have 9 months of payroll just saved up for a rainy day? That's not feasible. That's ridiculous.
That's
unless you're an insanely profitable company, and then it's not payroll. You just have money setting aside somewhere, and it's not set aside. It's invested in other shit so it can work for you because you're a fucking business and you're not stupid.
And on top of that, what happens if you're a business that maintains a cash fund or like amount in savings or something like that? Guess what happens every single year for that business? Those business owners have to pay taxes on that money. And so it is not a good business venture to sit there and stock up on 6 to 9 months worth of expenses, because why would you pay for 3/4 of a year's taxes just sitting in the bank account for money that you don't have access to? You're being taxed on money that you haven't realized. It's just sitting there as a safety net, so you get punished for that. So businesses don't do that, because then they go out of fucking business.
It doesn't make any sense. It
doesn't
literally
make it
doesn't make fiscal sense for
No.
business to do that. So if the government is going to, and this is not an argument in favor of this, I think you guys understand at this point. If the government, I know that's really awesome. If the government is going to do this, it is incumbent upon them to not further destroy the people that it rules over. It is incumbent upon them to repay those funds that they're going to force them to shut down for an undetermined amount of time.
Yeah.
Right?
We're already going to shove you down to the ground. We just may not kick you while you're down.
Yes. To underline both of these things, they are both examples of failures of governmental involvement, right? The PPP loans would never have been needed if the federal government did not shut down every fucking industry that existed other than the ones that they deemed to be essential, right? Past that, if the federal government did not inflate artificially the cost of a college education, we would not be in this situation, right? I'm not trying to be, oh, this is all the government's fault. This is all the government's fault. That's at the core of it. These are both extremely, just beautifully perfect examples of failures of governmental involvement. When the government tries to throw its dick around and instead it pisses all over everything, this is exactly what happens.
Now there is the employees retention credit. I don't know about that one, Deborah.
Yeah, that one's past me. Let's Google it right now. Let's see what we got.
To add on to that, remember when
that's the first thing that comes up.
We talked about a business, a local business here very recently. If you were a freedom-loving American who chose to say, fuck you to the government, I'm not screwing over my employees like this, I'm going to remain open, you were financially run out of town.
What is the employee retention tax credit?
What is it?
Jesus Christ.
I want to know.
And how does the program work? This is from Forbes. When the COVID-19 pandemic began, this is from June 21st of this year. When COVID-19 pandemic began and businesses were forced to shut down their operations, Congress passed programs to provide financial assistance to companies. One of these programs was the employee retention credit. The ERC gives eligible employees payroll tax credits for wages and health insurance paid to employee. However, when the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act was signed into law in November 2021, it put an end to the ERC program. Despite the end of the program, businesses still have the opportunity to claim ERC for up to 3 years retroactively.
Whoa!
Here's an overview of how the program works and how to claim this credit for your business. What is the ERC? Originally available from March 13, 2020 through December 31st, 2020, the ERC is refundable payroll tax credit created as part of the CARES Act, and purpose of the ERC was to encourage employers to keep their employees on payroll during the pandemic. Qualified employers and borrowers that took out a Paycheck Protection Program loan could claim up to 50% of qualified wages, including eligible health insurance expenses. The Consolidated Appropriations Act expanded the ERC. Employers that qualified in 2021 can claim the credit for 70% in qualified wages. So even if you got a PPP loan that was paid off, you can still claim 50% of that and get a credit for 50% of your PPP loan and 70% this year.
There's a fucking
holy shit.
There's an advertiser commercial going around on one of the podcasts I listened to at some point that is advertising for this for businesses to be able to take advantage of this thing. Now I understand what it's for, because it just sounds like, hey, due to a little known business tax loophole, how would you like to be able to get some money back from the federal government? You were entitled to it. Why don't you take advantage of it? You know, call us. You can do this. We'll get you set up for a fucking, you know, a free enrollment, whatever it is. And that makes sense. Now there's a whole industry coming up to claim this tax money.
Whether or not you qualify for ERC depends on the time period you're applying for. To be eligible for 2020, you need to have run a business or tax-exempt organization that was partially or fully shut down because of COVID-19. You also need to show that you experienced a significant decline in sales, less than 50% of comparable gross receipts compared to 2019. If you're trying to qualify for 2021, you must show that you experienced a decline in gross receipts by 80% compared to the same time period in 2019. If you weren't in business in 2019, you can compare your gross receipts to 2020. The CARES Act does prohibit self-employed individuals from claiming the ERC from their own wages. Assholes. You also can't claim wages for specific individuals who are related to you, but you can claim credit for wages paid to employees. What are qualified wages? What counts as qualified wages depends on the size of your business and how many employees you have on staff. There is no size limit to being eligible for ERC, but small and large companies are treated differently. For 2020, if you had more than 100 full-time employees in 2019, you can only claim the wages of employees you retained but were not working. If you have fewer than 100 employees, you can claim everyone, whether they were working or not. For 2021, the threshold was raised to 500 full-time employees in 2019, giving employers a lot more leeway as to who they can claim for the credit. Any wages that are subject to FICA taxes qualify, and you can include qualified health expenses when calculating the tax credit. That's a fuckload of money.
That is a huge sum of money.
That is a fuckload of money. This income must have been paid between March 13, 2020 and September 30th, 2021. However, recovery startup businesses have to claim the credit through the end of 2020. How to claim the tax credit? Even though the program ended 2021, businesses still have to claim the credit in the ERC. When you file your federal tax returns, you claim this tax credit by filling out a Form 941. Some businesses, especially those that received a Paycheck Protection Program loan in 2020, mistakenly believe they didn't qualify for the ERC. If you already filed your tax returns and now realize you are eligible for one, you can retroactively apply. So that's it. You did get your PPP. That's a fuckload of money.
So much money.
That's wild.
That's going to be good for inflation.
Right. I'm mad torn on that because I'm like, fuck yeah. If you got fucked, get your bread. Yep. But also, that's just ravaging the country. Yeah, that's ravaging the deficit because that's a shitload of money.
So much money.
Oh, man.
The only semi-bright side on this
Deborah.
one is that because it is such a little known thing, there will be a small percentage of people that'll go after it.
Wonder what Larry knows about that.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure he's
wild.
Busy, man.
I mean, he's the man.
He is the man.
That's wild,
bro. This just give away as much money as possible so that we can stay in power to give away as much money as possible.
It's not good.
There's only one way this ends, bro, and it ain't good.
No. No. And the last, do you have any other points on student loan forgiveness? Okay, the last thing that I have here, what does this have to do with liberty, right? So we're doing the show, what does it have to do with freedom? What does it have to do with liberty, right? We talked about this a little bit on the way here. Government, if allowed to grow, will eventually work solely to consolidate and maintain power. To that end, they will remove your choice, steal your property, and give it to someone else to gain political influence. Taxation is theft. The government should not have control over your children's education, over your life. Some of this shit is actually really racist. The teachers' unions in particular seem to be gaining more and more influence in our lives, first with education and now with social and political implications with the amount of financial influence they have gained. These people are working against us and they're government sanctioned, right? This is not good for you. And this is not a symptom of anything other than big government involving itself too much in your life.
Yeah.
That's
well
it.
said. Well said.
So, with that, we're going to take one more quick break, and we will come back, and we will talk about some more government interference, right? We have some beautiful, beautiful videos. We have some great segments going on here, and it's going to be fantastic. So stick around, and we'll be back in just a few minutes. Thank you.
Hey, everybody. Colin here from Salt of the Streets. Thank you for watching today's edition of Salty Shorts. If you liked what you saw, please be sure to check out the full episode right here on the Salt of the Streets YouTube channel. Please give us a like, comment, subscribe, and be sure to share this with all your friends. And you, too, can become a spreader of the message of liberty. Thanks.
Welcome to the Salt of the Streets, coming at you every week with this food for thought. Hope you ready to eat.